Hello, you fine people of the interwebs. My name is Brandon Noel, publisher and founder of Destiny Comics. And what you're about to listen to is Chapter 1 of The Captain and the Legend of the Highwayman. Now, this is my very first novel, and it is available at destinycomics.wix.com/comics, as well as on amazon.com. So I hope you enjoy it. This means a lot to me. The Captain and the Legend of the Highwayman. Chapter 1. The sand was hot, and the sun was draining, and the captain was not in a good mood. The captain was a tall man whom not many knew of, and those who did wished they didn't. The captain was a mercenary. No job was beyond his means of carrying out, and there was never quite a bastard like the captain. He was riding on a brown horse called Othaniel, named after the judge from the Bible. He was riding toward the town of Santa Clara, which was located in California. He had already been riding for 4 days when he had gotten to the outskirts of the town. He could have ridden a train into town, as Santa Clara was a modern town with street lights and trains leaving and arriving every couple of hours. When he got to Santa Clara, he was disappointed that the city did not have horse ties and troughs for his horse to drink from. This would mean he would have to pay for stabling his horse. That was better for Othaniel, but not for the captain's money purse. He found a stable close to the city limits. He always did this in case he had to leave town in a hurry. He walked into town and found the first house of ill repute. He did not plan on using any of the women there, but he liked staying at such places due to the privacy they gave a man. He walked in to the dimly lit building. There was a man sitting in a corner with 2 women cuddling up against him. The captain rang the bell on the front counter. A woman stumbled from the back room wearing a red dress with one of her breasts hanging out of the dress. The woman looked up and said, "How can we service you, sir?" The captain said, "I won't be needing any servicing. What I need is a room for the night." The woman leaned over the counter, causing the right strap of her dress to slip down her arm, exposing most of her other breast. "You realize we charge by the hour here." He slid a gold coin across the desk and said, "That should cover me for about 48 hours. The woman pulled the strap of her dress up, covering her previously free hanging breast. Sir, let me show you to your room." He hated paying more for less accommodations, but he did prefer the privacy. The captain got a key, familiarized himself with the room, and then walked out, saying he would be back soon. The captain, now situated in town, was off to meet his new client. He soon found himself standing in front of a giant white mansion. When he walked to the steps, he could see the servants working in the yard. They were shocked to see a man of a lower class walk up the steps of Archibald Fernando Nevins. When the butler opened the door, his face said it all. He gave a look as to say, "Go away, peasant. Your kind is not worthy to be here." Instead of dealing with the pleasantries, the captain simply walked in, pushing the servant out of his way. He walked into the parlor room and yelled with some anger toward his host, whom seemed to be nowhere around. "Nevins, it is I, the captain. If you don't show yourself soon, I will leave to attend to more important business." Nevins made himself known, standing at the head of the stairs, a lovely lady on either side of him. He said, "Now, that's no way to greet your host." Nevins stirred his drink. He was dressed from head to toe in white. His skin was fairly pale for someone of Hispanic descent. "You're wasting my time," said the captain. My, you sure are in a hurry to do some killing." "No, I'm just in a hurry to leave California. I almost didn't come at all." By then Nevins had reached the bottom of the grand staircase. "Let's talk business," he said. The two men walked through the tall archway, while the women walked outside, as if business was a code word for them to leave. The two men sat down on a couch, which must have been the smoothest thing the captain had ever sat on, because when he sat down he almost smiled. The captain switched focus back to the matter at hand. He said, "Let's get one thing straight. I work for your father and the club, not you." Nevins was taken aback. No one had ever used that tone with him, as a man or as a child. Nevins sat up straight and with disgust said, "Listen, there's a little shit out there making a name for himself as a master criminal. He's called the Highwayman. He's a hijacker, 4 of our trains, and I want him dead." The captain raised an eyebrow and said, "One man doesn't rob a train. It takes more than one guy." Nevins picked up his drink and stirred it, and as he dragged the stirrer across the rim of the glass, he said, "This guy's not a normal thief. He dresses all in black. He has a flintlock pistol, but no one's ever seen him use it. He uses just a sword, which he wipes when he's done. Every day this nut job is out there, the club loses money. He's making it very hard to do business on the outskirts of town." The captain stood up and said, "How much?" "500,000. I'll make it a full million if you bring me his mask." The captain looked at him oddly. "This is personal, isn't it? Why else would you want the mask?" "He made me look stupid. That's reason enough to want him dead. We believe he'll hit the 74 coming out of Wire Bridge. It's carrying railroad supplies to lay more tracks. This psychopath has it in for the club." The captain started to walk towards the front door. Nevins called after him, "Will you be staying at the clubhouse?" "No, I made other arrangements. I'll set out in the morning for your highwayman." A few moments later, the captain found himself back at his rented room. It was rush hour when he walked through the door. Instead of one lonely old man in the dark corner, the room was packed. He walked upstairs to his room. When he opened his door, there was a naked woman on his bed. He was not happy, but before he could voice his protest, he noticed he wasn't the only other one in the room. There was another woman standing in the doorway. She was wearing a bell dress with a corset and a top hat. She said, "I'm the owner of this establishment." The captain stood between the two women, not knowing what to expect. The madam continued, "She's a gift on the house for your generous payment." He looked at the madam. "I don't mean to offend your offer, but I'm not interested in any of your ladies." The madam had a look of shock on her face. "If you want, we have a couple of men to meet those kinds of needs. That's not what I meant." "If you're not a puff, then what's wrong with my ladies?" "Nothing. Under the right circumstances, I might be tempted to take your offer. But take a look at this woman here," he said while gesturing to the woman in his bed. "Those are the breasts of a 25-year-old girl." The whore chimed in with, "I'm 24, thank you." The captain paused and continued, "If I were to lay with a woman, I'd want a woman closer to my age, a woman who I could actually get without paying for her feminine wiles. I'm not one for fiction. No matter how pretty the lie might be, it's still a lie." The madam signaled for the employee to leave the room. Just before leaving the room herself, she whispered into his ear, "You know, I'm closer to your age." She then grabbed his butt just before she walked out of the room. As the captain laid down, he thought to himself, those were definitely 25-year-old breasts. And the next morning, he started out toward Wire Bridge. The ride wasn't long, but he had to take a train early in the morning. He would have missed the 74 if he had taken his horse. Sitting on the trains always made him feel uncomfortable. The tight spaces, the strange people. He could never find comfort in the cabin of a train. When he arrived at Wire Bridge Station, he was able to stretch. When the 74 pulled up, he collected his courage and walked toward the train. There was a big man at the door checking tickets. This wasn't a concern of his since he was given a golden ticket by the club. He could ride any train at any time for free. When he showed his ticket, the man pulled out a small wooden box and said, "We will need to confiscate your guns." "Excuse me, do you know who I am?" "Yes, and I know what you're here to do, but I will not risk the health and well-being of my crew and passengers by having a loose cannon on my train." After some more arguing, the captain gave up his 2 revolvers, took a seat in the back of the train, thinking that this would be the easiest place to mount a moving train. When the 74 left the station, no one knew that 2 legends of the West were about to have their first encounter. The captain was on edge, not knowing if he would even see this highwayman, not to mention he didn't have his 2 favorite guns. It was an hour into the train ride when he decided to go into the dining cart. He ordered a sandwich with some split pea soup. As they delivered his lunch, he heard from behind him a woman's voice. "Well, if it isn't my favorite high roller." It was the madam from Santa Clara. She sat down at the table across from him. "What are you doing out so early?" he asked. "Just a little business." "I didn't know whoring involved travel. There's a lot I could teach you. I made an offer to a couple of young up-and-comers. So where are you heading? The 74 has many stops." "You in a hurry to rent out my room?" "Maybe." "Well, I have one more day on my lease." "What is it you do? A hunk of gold like the one you gave me could have paid for a lot more than 2 nights." "You ever hear of the Hostler Club?" "Well, I work for them doing odd jobs." "I see. What are your thoughts on the highwayman?" "There have been highwaymen all throughout history. He's just a thief and a coward. Why else would you hide behind a mask? You're obviously not from around here, stranger. He steals from your precious club, but he gives the money to orphanages and people who need the food. Without him, a lot of people would have starved to death. Your little club wouldn't have even given a damn. You know how many people died to make them the richest people in California? Suddenly, I'm not that hungry." The madam stood up from the table and started to walk toward the front of the train. The captain considered for a moment that there must be more to this situation than he had previously thought. So, there you have it. The Captain and the Legend of the Highwayman, Chapter 1. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe to us. Follow us on iTunes. Write a review. And we'll keep doing these posts, as we have a lot of short stories and a lot of novels that we'll be publishing. And, if you like this, we might actually continue this. And who knows, I might read the whole book over the course of a year.